Have you ever wondered whether the economy is ready for AI? Well, here we go. It's a pleasure to welcome Sali Osman to today's podcast. Sali has been a cybersecurity industry professional for many years.
Yep.
Your career spans literally the entire globe.
I want to believe so.
Yeah, I think so. You worked for very interesting institutions and companies, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, Saudi Aramco, and others.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I'm curious to hear from you how you got into this in the first place and how the industry has changed during your career.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Peter. Really appreciate it. And thank you for having me with this historical moment next to the Enigma machine. Only geeks would understand this one.
That's
I'm
right.
very proud that I'm one of them.
We're two geeks.
So I've been in the tech industry for 30 years. I graduated from a maritime academy with a specialty in computer engineering, communications engineering. In Egypt, Alexandria, which I'm very proud of. And then I started my career in Abu Dhabi Police, installing radars and doing all fun stuff in GPS, global positioning systems, and GISs.
Okay.
And then after that, I came to the US for GE as a security consultant in 2000. This tells you how old I am and how early I started cybersecurity. So it was very interesting career path for me. I was a geek. I was a techie. As I progressed, what really got me into cybersecurity was that we had an incident in 1999 where someone from South Africa put a post on the internet that Abu Dhabi Police is a lousy place to work at, and he posted a lot of critical, sensitive information. So the immediate reaction of back then of the Berg and everyone like shut down that newspaper, you know, and I was like, yeah, but we can't do that. Like we can shut down. It's not a newspaper per se. Okay, shut it down from United Arab Emirates. Yeah, but we can't just shut it. Like, yeah, we can proxy stuff, and you know, and you always had proxies, but you cannot shut it down. So I managed to get with the offender, talk to him. I identified his location. Remember back those days when you type in, it took forever for the message to receive the other party. So I managed to get that, and as a reward, they assigned me for an internet crimes class.
Okay.
That was given to us by Ottawa Police. I remember back in the days.
My goodness.
I'm talking about 1999.
Wow.
So so this is when I realized. And then when they had another initiative like, oh, we want to web enable our traffic department to the, you know, to the public. And I'm like, oh my God, you don't enable such services. We don't have any protection. We back then we still had the database password was open. Like, yes. No, we can't do that. And they were like, okay, you know how to read manuals and you're good in English language. Why don't you just read those manuals and tell us how we secure it? And this was what triggered me to start my first master's in computer systems with a focus on internet security.
Internet was still small back then.
Yeah. So and then after that, I went to so as I got to GE in 2000, I left. I went after that to the government contracting world. Actually, before that, I went to the media and broadcast.
So here we are, podcast studio.
So I was TV and broadcast engineer in the Middle East Broadcast Network, which is the IBB funded. It's funded by Congress. It was right after the war in Iraq.
Okay.
It was a U.S. Media network that focused mainly on communicating to the Middle East of the United States agenda and policies and what's going on in Iraq. So it was radio. So it had the Radio Sawa, the Voice of America, and all these stations.
But not internet radio. This is classical radio.
It was
Traditional radio.
back in the days. It was
Yeah.
That was in 2003,
Yes.
4, 5. That was so I was in Al Hurra, the TV. So setting up the studios from ground up, disaster recovery and business continuity. Obviously, we were a targeted organization.
Yes.
So that was, it shaped my skills in that domain. And then I went to the U.S. government contracting,
Okay.
Department of Transportation, FAA, the highways, they call it the FMCSA, and then NIH.
Okay.
And then from there, I went back to GE. I came back to GE, but at that point, I was leading technology audits in the cybersecurity.
Okay.
Um,
And then from there,
uh-huh.
would you have ever thought that in 2026, we're finding ourselves in a situation where we have to possibly regulate AI and cybersecurity company, whether it's Anthropic or others? Because what the systems they're designing now are so apparently so capable
Yeah.
that we may not be able to release them.
Yeah.
Would you have foreseen that back then?
So there are a couple of things that my prediction never failed me. So in 1998, I first saw that cybersecurity is going to be a big thing.
Okay.
And it did, and it continued for a while. And then in 2000, when I joined GE, the first behavioral authentication, I was auditing those systems, and this is when I realized that authentication, identity access management, will not be the traditional way of authentication. And
the traditional way was what?
the traditional way is username and password.
Okay.
And they were advocating for, they call it the 3-factor authentication, was something that you know, something you have, and who you are. Biometric always concerned me, the third factor. And the reason is, I knew that there will be a time very soon, we will have a technology that would mimic who I am. So voice recognition to authenticate consumers through banking systems, or biometric retina and fingerprints. I mean, if you look at all these Hollywood movies, yeah, they've done it for fun for us to watch and say, oh, wow. But I thought this was actually capable with the technological advancement that we were going through. And so one of the emerging technologies has grew so much, specifically AI, in cybersecurity. We call it in the back-end systems and credit risk, in areas that was labor-intensive, and it was the immediate revenue need for the organization to automate those areas. So AI was not so to be fair, when I joined AWS in 2019, Amazon was already using AI a long time ago. Like, it wasn't, so when I came in, I cannot take credit that, oh, wow, I was the person who did anything in AI. Yeah, I mean, I did. I contributed to the Alexa language models, the dialect training, I was a bot raiser for the hiring those engineers and the data scientists. So, we had a big deal about the privacy and anonymizing the data that we're collecting through Alexa, because, Alexa has been listening. The way it works is that it listens 24/7 unless you tell her, hey, Alexa, stop listening. So it doesn't a lot, and that it's always in a data collection mode.
Yeah, that's one reason I don't have it personally, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I think really the big deal that you're seeing today is that it became at the consumer's hands.
Okay.
And then it became I call it the democratization of revenue. And it allowed companies back in the days for a company to disrupt an industry and come up with an amazing and great idea. Like, look at the Airbnbs, the Ubers, and things like that. They had to have a different mindset. Now that became a little bit easier, because now it's at everyone's hands. So to answer that part is that I guess maybe because of the nature of the industries that I was in and the organizations I worked at, they were always a leading technologies. When I joined the Middle East Broadcast Network, back in the days, it was 100% digital. And I'm talking about 2003.
Okay.
2003, that broadcast station was 100% digital. Everything was digitized all the way from, you get the feeds through, some of them through analog signals. But once it's in the station, everything gets digitized, it gets broadcasted digitally, and that's it. Archived digital, everything was digital. So same thing when I joined GE, same thing. They had very progressive ways of doing things, very different. The Back to Africa initiatives in GE were amazing. Their energy, power and energy there are so many things that were advanced.
Okay.
Same thing in Amazon. I joined AWS. I had the privilege of working on amazing projects and influencing great initiatives that had a high ESG outcomes. ESG, like environmental sustainability and governance. And
speaking of those,
yeah.
and physical infrastructure, we can talk about data centers a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Or let's say the physical infrastructure, not just the software and the large language models that's required to power this technological revolution. You may want to call it. Okay. Are we ready for this? What are the concerns? What are the factors to build sustainable?
Yeah.
And sustainable is a big word, just as an environmentally infrastructure for this transition.
Yeah. So the last metric I heard 2 weeks ago is that the United States is building 37 data centers in the United States. Me, knowing what it takes to build a data center, the immediate question went to my mind is like, okay, I looked at the map, where are they building those? It has to be close to where water is, right? Fresh water.
And not salt water. Yeah, fresh water.
Fresh water.
Not salt water, obviously. Yeah.
And what about the impact to the environment?
The water's for cooling, by the way? Or
yes, water for cooling.
Okay.
And
cooling the chips.
Yes. And then the powering. Where are we going to get those massive power?
Yes, I thought we had a problem with power supply before the AI boom in this world, sustainable supply of electricity.
We always see, this is the thing, and I think, and I hate to say this, but in the United States, for some reason, we are a little bit backwards and behind when it comes to renewable energy. People can argue about it all day long, but I did not believe it not until I traveled to, in 2025, January 2025, Dr. Nawal Al-Hosani, she's actually the permanent representative of United Arab Emirates in the IRENA agency, the International Renewable Energy Agency. And when I arrived to that exhibit, I mean, first of all, the exhibition and the qualities of the things that exhibited by other countries, and I'm very controversial, so I don't shy away from using the word China, was phenomenal. Remember, January 2015, it was right after Milton and Helene hurricanes in Florida.
Right.
I lost my boat. We had no power for 7 days or something. My husband and I had to go somewhere. And mind you, when I looked at the technologies that they had in that exhibition, I was like, can someone call someone from Hillsborough County to attend this exhibition? Not only the great capabilities they have that could provide energy to a whole neighborhood, it's the affordability of the solutions. So why are we in the United States denying ourselves from amazing technologies? And I think, in my opinion, this is what that exact issue will hinder our ambitions of data center growth. If we don't change the way we do business when it comes to energy, I do not see a way that we will be able to design and implement successfully data centers that would fulfill our technology aspirations and hunger of AI. And this is just me, my humble opinion.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Certainly, it's in the interest of many countries to have data autonomy. Essentially, you want enough data centers in your own country, each country.
Yep.
So to store at least put certain types of data securely within your four walls, so to speak. Okay. Not every country will be able to do that. Some countries have more capability than others. And there's a push to do this in space.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Whether it's Elon Musk or other companies, the idea is to to basically set up data centers in space. Now, amongst many challenges of doing this, okay, is what you spoke about water. Well, there's no water in space, and certainly not enough water to cool these. So you face the issue of cooling all these chips when they run in space.
Yeah.
So you can do it only with radiation, really. Which is so these massive panels, essentially, to radiate that heat away from these microprocessors. And it's going to get busy up there because each small, right? Because it's because of the load that any rocket can take. There's a maximum payload. Okay, it can carry so much only to space. So these data centers can only be so big.
And then get lost somewhere. And then oh my God, where's my investment going?
Well, you have thousands up there, and not tens of thousands or more. I don't know. So things are getting busy. And then also there's, again, the security. So this becomes a geopolitical issue.
Yes.
Right? That where do I store the data centers? We talk about sustainability, not just water. Are they safe? Is it easy to get access to them? And you want to prevent this, let's say? So how do you foresee this unfolding? Does it have to be regulated? I don't know.
Let me tell you something about, again, my disruptive way of viewing regulation. At one point, if regulators also need to be disrupted, think of it this way. We cannot keep having regulators who always examine the technology and the capability and then draft some policies and laws. No, it's not going to work like that. You have to be forward thinking, predict what the future and the capability in the future would be, and then work backwards from there. And institute it accordingly. Meaning, what you and I were just talking about, I think they need to have a policy right here, right there and then. The minute they heard Elon Musk or whoever, that person came up with an amazing idea saying, oh, we'll take it to space. You know what? Go and work on some efforts and say, here are the minimum must-haves once you go out to space. At the end of the day, what will determine the importance of regulation is how much the consumer is willing to let go in return for technology and capability. Think of it this way. How much am I willing to let go with my privacy if I can just talk to my phone, get directions, and and then my IoT enabled on my phone will be able to analyze my conversation with my mom, my sisters, my work, my the noise and the data collection that it hears everything in the house, my path on land and on water. Remember, I spend a lot of time on water, so all of that being collected. At one point, am I going to say, you know what? I don't care if an app collects this data. I have to reach that point so that I will not me or any other subject of the data will sue one sort of technology that it collected all that data without my consent.
Right.
So it is, at the end of the day, I think when it comes to regulation, it's going to boil down to two things. Either the regulators become real disruptors and futuristic technologists, and I'm very careful of selecting that word, so that they could not only understand the technologies that they should regulate, but also predict the capabilities and work backwards from there. Second, at what point, at what level will the subjects and the owners of these data would let go their privacy, their security, because there are, if you look at a lot of technologies are not even allowed in certain regions. In Europe and Germany, there are certain technologies that you cannot use. Same thing in Middle East and GCC countries. Same thing in Asia versus here in the United States. And it varies, the private company using the technology versus the consumer using that technology. So I really think this is, it's one of those areas that is going to be fun to watch.
Yes, if regulators can keep pace with the development. I mean, it's developing so quickly. So can regulators...
They have to be futuristic. The fact that we keep relying on educating regulators, like this traditional way, needs to change.
The time scales, it doesn't match.
Yeah, it doesn't match.
Okay, so we have the infrastructure piece, for instance, data centers, and then there's the workforce, of course.
Yes.
Okay, we hear a lot about this, that AI will be possibly eliminating lots of jobs. Then the question is, if that's the case, how many get replaced or with other types of jobs? You have been working for, as you described, for many years in this sort of industry and advising a lot of companies. Are companies prepared? What strategic mistakes do they make right now or not? Can you give some examples? What do you think we have to prepare ourselves for as companies?
So my favorite part is that I am seeing companies are committing the same mistakes they committed 15 years ago when they were moving to the cloud.
Okay.
Back many years, they used to look at this cloud as a big, fuzzy thing that they did not understand. And they thought someone somehow convinced CIOs and CTOs that you will not need your technical teams, you will not need your data centers, you will not need your network engineers. Once you leave, you can fire them. And then on the books, it looked like, yep, we saved money. Yay, he's looking good in front of the board of directors. A year later, when the data moves to the cloud, I call it the shift and dump. There's a term in cloud migration called lift and shift. I call it lift and dump. Meaning, because when I was in AWS, part of my work is I used to help Fortune 50 companies Fortune 100 companies and migrating to the cloud. They're actually their most sensitive workloads, either from an operation resilience perspective or data sensitivity. So my job is I would go there, examine their infrastructure, what type of data they have, and come up with agile, immediate solutions, secure way that they can migrate to the cloud quickly. Up to my surprise, I would walk into the client site and I find that half of the IT department is gone. So I would ask the CIO, okay, great. Where are the network engineers who will help us with migration? Oh, they're gone. We laid them off. Not only they laid them off and we struggled through the migration, but they also had to hire them back a year later. And guess what? They were complaining that they were so proud that they saved $80,000 of their salaries and benefits. Guess what? Now they retained them back with $150,000 annual salary, because obviously they trained themselves on cloud. They had cloud certifications, and so instead they could have kept those people, retrained them on cloud architecture and cloud management, and they could have saved that money. The other mistake that I saw them doing was they could not get off the data centers in a proper manner for so many reasons. So they ended up paying data center cost, exactly, and cloud operational cost. And of course, because they had no one to optimize their workloads on an operational manner, they ended up spending too much that they did not need on the cloud. Mm-hmm. So, and the companies that did it right, in my opinion, when I say right, the definition of right means in an optimal financial manner. They retrained their existing staff. They reprogrammed their processes. Remember, the one of the famous mistakes that they've done in the past is that they've never re-engineered the absurd workflows. This is exactly what they're doing now.
Same old workflows, different technology, but same old workflows.
So now what they're trying to do, they're trying to have these AI automate very bad workflows. So I wish we could have more people look into their organization. Forget about technology. Look at your processes and say, where are our bottlenecks? Where do we have our we call them the holes, the black holes that sucks the money, drains the resources of the organization. Change that. Don't try to automate it. Don't say, oh, this is a labor-intensive job. Let me just automate it. Yeah, before you do that, I mean, it's definitely, I am a big advocate of automating labor-intensive tasks. But look, what is wrong with this process to begin with?
Okay.
Does it need to be re-engineered?
So therein could lie some of the future jobs. You tie together AI, the capabilities of AI.
Yeah.
And say companies or services, but not as they are now necessarily, okay?
Yeah.
So it's interesting for universities. It's a little similar, I think. So I work at the university, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the first reaction to AI was, what does it do to academic integrity? So do these students cheat? So we have the same exam, we do the same assessment. Okay, now they cheat. Okay, that was a big topic. And then, so the next question is, can we use AI differently to teach? Do we change assignments? Sure. But we don't look at the entire enterprise. We don't look at the entire university and its operations.
Yes.
Whether it's teaching, research, administrative service, student service, and so on, and possibly reimagine that university.
Reimagine is the word. Yep.
And a university will then have to define maybe its own new identity in some ways in the age of AI.
Yeah.
Currently, we just sort of put it on top, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the existing machine, for the existing university. I think that's maybe I think universities are learning this right now, actually, and they will change, I think. But that's maybe the mistake we've been making so far, I would say.
You know, Peter, you're absolutely right. And let me say it even more in a blunt manner. A lot of our executives never learned how to monetize and create value based on technology in a manner other than save
cost cutting
by laying off people. They never learned. They never learned, we call it, like, for example, I can talk about cyber economics all day long. I can tell you at a very young time in my career, in my cyber career, I realized how I can monetize, bring revenue from cyber services. I mastered it early. I was very adamant about it. I talked about it in the workplaces I had. So whenever I would say, hey, we need this firewall, or we need this technology for authentication, I would immediately tie it back, because identity access management for the consumer is costing the company XYZ, the fraud is costing us X, and here is how much it will save us. I would be able to say, well, if we do this technology, I can realign the other resources of the organization and it can generate X number of revenue. Like, I think the difference between cost cutting, I'm not saying cost cutting is not a good thing. Yeah, obviously think of how you can save money where you're wasting, your money. That's absolutely understandable. But somehow our executives and organization just kept focusing that this is the only way to measure ROI for emerging technologies. And that's not right. So when we need to, part of the company, if you look at the companies that survived transformations and disruptions in industries, were the companies that had that agility and ability to examine their processes every now and then, and they proudly got rid of legacy processes. We always complain about legacy systems, IT systems, but no one says, and especially in academia, we're so proud of, we've been doing this for 30 years. I mean,
Correct.
like, why are you so proud of saying that you've been doing it? We're not building pyramids here, for God's sake. Like, we're not building Sphinx and, you're not like, okay, you know what? It's okay. Keep the history to the history. Like, but we're not in a history shop here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's finish by peeking into the future a little bit. Okay. So my understanding is that most large AI companies which develop large language models and AI systems are mostly burning through cash.
Yes.
Okay. So Money has to come in from investors to keep this whole circus going. At the same time, we have to build lots of data centers, infrastructure, and so on. It all costs money. And you just spoke to how companies need to adapt and change and so forth to actually integrate this sort of new technology and be successful going forward. Now it's 2026. What do you think? At what point would you think are we turning a corner that AI diffuses into all levels of society and becomes part of society, and we actually turn profit, if you like, it becomes a natural entity in society? We embrace it, and businesses have gotten over that hump, if you like.
So, just like everything, okay, I feel very embarrassed talking about this whenever I am. It's the cycles of technology, emerging technology advancement. It happened in end of the 90s, and then we had huge investments in technology.
Right.
And then you had civil engineers changing their careers to work in IT. And then remember that .com, that collapse?
Very well, actually.
And then we had it again in 2000, if I remember correctly, 2007 or 8. But then they tied it to the real estate market.
Right.
And then we had it with the cloud transformation era, probably 2016. So the economist, if you were to ask economists, they say that the cycle is every 8 years. I think even that cycle is getting shorter. Okay. My prediction for this year, we will have, because remember, the way we've done our investments in AI, it was, in my opinion, too blind. And the reason is we did not understand a lot of investors did not understand what they were investing, they're putting their money in. Whenever we use the term AI today, it's actually the convergence of technologies. It's the capability of energy storage, robotics, the blockchain, and all of these working, and then machine learning. All of these working together is showing you the capability, demonstrating the capability that we're using today and we keep blindly and use the term AI on all of that.
Correct.
So they do not understand the nuances of and the peculiar aspects of what it takes for each of those technologies to sustain itself. We talked about the data centers in a minute, and same thing, the robotics. For you to be able to have that capability, we need to solve this supply chain crisis, for God's sake, that we've been experiencing. The chips and the raw materials, and I'm not talking about the situation with China. I think the situation that the United States have with China is one disaster, but there are other disasters that's contributing to the supply chain of, in my opinion, network, not the global network. And that will hinder that. So my prediction for this year, sad enough, we will not generate the expected revenues of AI. What will happen, what a lot of investors will do, they will revisit where they're putting their investments. And sad enough, and then for next year, for 2027, they will calibrate their policies, their investments, and their books. For 2027, we're going to hit another hit because we're going to hit badly by environment. We have not been treating Mother Earth well, so we will hit it in 2027. 2028, God knows what. So I think if we don't change the way we're doing things, remember there is a saying in psychology, repeating the same thing and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. I think we won that award.
Okay.
We won the Oscar.
Well, Sali, I would then say we should meet next year again at this time. See how close you are.
I may be wrong, but we'll see.
And in 2028 again, and 27 and 28, when all bets are off in 2028, you said. I'd like to meet you, especially 2028.
God knows what. I don't know. We rely a lot on the global economy, whether we like it or not.
Well, the next few months will be interesting then.
Yes.
Thank you for joining the show today. Thank you very much. It was
a
pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.